Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. I try to keep all my information current. I know that we're going to have people watching us from literally all around the globe right now because our guest tonight is David Nakhid. He's the founder and director of the David Nakhid International Football Academy in Beirut, Lebanon, and was the first Trinidad and Tobago international to play professionally in Europe. The two-time Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago Player of the Year and celebrated midfielder, once represented FC Grasshopper in Switzerland, Waragem in Belgium, POAK in Greece, New England Revolution in the United States, Al Emirates in the United Arab Emirates, Al Ansar in Lebanon. He's also an activist. He's been on the ground responding to the COVID-19. He's been sharing hampers, and I know he's been doing his own stuff to. David, welcome to the show. It is a privilege and an honor to have you here, my friend.
Nice to be with you, Philip. Very proud of what you have been doing as well, and look forward to our discussion tonight.
Something tell me I should duck from now because the stuff that you was talking are off air. But I let everybody know he is a celebrity, so I'm taking my lecture right because that's how it is. David, I don't know where to start. Start football. Start your burning desire to see a better Trinidad and Tobago. You told me when we were in the waiting room that being outside of Trinidad and loving Trinidad and being home is two different experiences. You want to touch on that?
Well, I knew Trinidad was in a bad place, Trinidad and Tobago. I knew we were in a bad place. I think my writings over the last few years, my statements in 2005, when there was a horrific set of killings on the hill, Laventille Hill, and I think 7 or 8 people got killed. And I made statements when we returned from Panama that that Trinidad and Tobago was essentially a narco state, and the people in charge of that were responsible for these killings and so forth and so on. And subsequently, I was fired by Jack Warner, who was put under pressure, of course, by the sponsors of some in the Syrian Lebanese community. So I knew we were in a bad place since 2005. And I've written about it. I've kept in contact with my family here, of course, with the media. And so I know everything that has been going on. But actually being here over the last 2.5 months, I think we're in a worse place than I thought. Not because of the situation. I mean, the situation, it's in front of us writ large. What is apparent to me now is the mindset of the people that should know better and probably do know better. And it's only the people who can make a change. In the end, we are a democracy. Some people might say for better or for worse. We are a democracy, and we change governments by the ballot. I am praying that it remains by the ballot and not by the bullet, because what I've seen is it's absolutely atrocious. I've seen a government completely uncaring, a government who will blatantly fabricate and spew things in front of the whole population and get away with it.
That they know to be untrue. That they themselves know to be untrue.
Of course they know it to be untrue. That's why they continue to lie. But they know, and I had meetings yesterday, coincidentally, up in Laventille with some of the elders up there. My mom originally is from Laventille. And I was up there, and they were saying that they know that this government has done little or nothing for Laventille over the years. I'm talking about people who are the age of my uncle Rudolph Charles. And they swear that they know this government has done nothing for Laventille and will do nothing for Laventille and will keep coming back to Laventille as a reference for a vote only. People like Fitzgerald Hines and these people who, I mean, when you hear the words to describe Fitzgerald Hines, and then you wonder, well, how these people can have any respect for themselves going into government and having the population disgusted with them in many ways.
David, I want to believe that you have to be aware that at the root of this is the disgusting tribal politics that keeps us divided politically. As David Rudder say, how we vote is not how we party, and we've allowed ourselves as a people to be divided into three camps, and those three camps are voting black, voting Indian, don't vote at all. And it comes down to every single election that has come along, people have demonstrated absolute disgust with the government of the day, regardless of which government that is. And we vote against, hoping that the one that we voted out before, in the 5 years or however long they were sitting on their timeout, they would have had a change of heart and grew up conscience, so that if they were given a next turn at bat, they would treat the people with dignity and respect and compassion. But that has never been the case, because we seem to be going downhill with each successive administration. So how do we get the people to understand that voting race not helping us?
Well, first we have to get them to understand that we should not be divided by race, because there's no such thing. I mean, and I know that sounds like a real uphill task. I know it sounds a bit idealistic, but that is the reality. I said to you before when we started that someone called you, or I wrote about you, that you are half-breed. And I said to a friend of mine that is the situation of almost everybody in Trinbago. We are all so-called half-breeds, and we should be proud of that. That's what makes us essentially the first global people, the Caribbean people, because we mix up with everything.
When you told me that you are 1/8 Lebanese off air, and I know that I 1/8 black, 1/4 Lebanese, I thinking that somewhere inside of there, if we trace the family tree far back enough, we related on two sides.
Well, I'll give you an example. When we went back, our family, the first Nakhid that came over was Joseph Nakhid. And he came, and we saw when we opened to bury my grandfather, we saw Beirut, Port of Spain. And then we had to do, because my great grandfather is the one who donated the land for the St. Joseph Archie Church, which people probably do not know. And so all the Nakhid men are allowed to be buried behind the church where the priests are buried. Okay, that's just a little side note. So when we did our research, because there's some dispute about the land, we realized that yes, we did indeed. The first Nakhid, Joseph Nakhid, came from Lebanon. I've met my family in Lebanon. They come from a place called Zgata. I've met them. I've seen his name in the church books. And he was the first one who came across in the 1800s. And so when I hear this little boy who now, I think Sabga Aboud, who now took over, and Samarkala CEO, talking about, they're in business for 140 years. I laughing. You know what I mean? What 140 years you in business? You know what I mean? When you go 140, you're not in business 140 years. You cannot be, because you were not the first set of people. But they try to push this narrative that they
inherit McInerney All-Stars. So they're talking about McInerney All-Stars. McInerney All-Stars might be in business 140 years, but they're not here. The answer part, the Anthony Sabga part of Answer Makal, ain't here 140 years. I see Sagicor doing the same stupidness. Sagicor buys some company from Barbados that had 100 years of pedigree, and Sagicor assume it, but Sagicor is what, 15 years old?
Well, exactly. That was my point. When I saw that, I laughed, and I see how they try to shape the narrative. They talk about the one who died as being who turned out to be in the end some emeritus, or but we from the community know better. Most of them, as somebody within that community remarked to me one time, he said, "David, listen, don't worry them. They're not Lebanese. They're not Syrian. They don't even know. They can't speak 2 words Arabic or Lebanese. You know what I mean?" And I laugh in how they only use it. My point is, Philip, they use it as a way to keep themselves apart.
Boss, watch me. I didn't know that's where the show was going tonight, but take 100 points out of 10, because I want to tell you, it's a small handful of very zealous, greedy, I don't know if to say heartless people, that have tried to make a mockery of the rest of our whole community and hide behind them and use them, you know. Use them is the correct
Well,
term.
well, here, listen to this. Listen to this. Many in that community have sympathized with what I've said many times over. They have contacted me privately. They know. They know. So when I see somebody trying to ship, they can do that with the rest of the population. They can't do that
But
with
this,
me. Because I have lived in Lebanon for 22 years. And I know my roots. I know my roots. And I've never, maybe this is the first time in Trinidad and Tobago people hearing that I am of Lebanese ancestry.
but David Nakhid, them people who in that small group who hijacked the Syrian Lebanese community will refer to you as an Abid. You know that?
Well, I
I
like
joke
that.
and tell
If they
people,
can.
David, I joke and tell people, I half Abid. I don't mind, I half Abid. I have no problem with that. When Gassan Yusuf tell me, he said, Philip, I land in this country to hear people talking about people and calling people Abid. He said, I never feel so disgusted in my whole life. And I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago, you see, the reason I shift from this 1% talk to refer to Syrian Lebanese people, because they're not all 1%. Susie Hadid proved it, that drama when we had to tell her to pump her brakes. Not
Hold on. Let me come back to that. That's the Yadi thing. She tell you that you have breed, and I didn't like your response. You should have told her better to be half breed than inbred.
oh, boss, stick up in. No, because you see, I don't want to fight back nasty. And the problem is, because the community in Trinidad is so small that when you attack one, you attack all. And there are so many good and decent people of Syrian and Arab descent in this country. I grew up in Woodbrook. The Elias family on the corner was like, I mean, I don't want to hijack. I don't want to hijack the conversation to list names, but there are so many good and decent that to the rest of Trinidad and Tobago, because of the actions of a deviant few who really into some nastiness and have used political access and dirty money to make a mess of everything. And we will talk about that, you and I, another time. But because I didn't want to really go down this road so much. But I want to tell you something. I'm happy that some of the things that you're pointing out or some of the things that you're bringing up, because every time I meet somebody who knows and understands, it takes a load off of me because I feel like I've been carrying this by myself.
No, you're not. You're not. And it's interesting that you even take the perspective that some in that community. It's time we stop. It's time they stop looking at themselves as a community apart from the rest of the country. It's time that the Indo-Trinbagonians stop looking at themselves as a community apart from the rest of the country. The same for the so-called Afro-Trinbagonian. Unless we look at ourselves as a national community, we lost.
You're right. But you're right. But how you could say that when you have prime ministers? This latest clown, no mask, no roti. He referred to a recalcitrant minority, harkening back to the days of Eric Williams' nastiness. Politicians who bring nothing logical or sensible to the table could only win by beating the tribe together. Bring out the tribe. Bring out the tribal in you to say, what?
Because it's the easiest appeal. It's the easiest appeal, and we know that. I mean, there's a reason why 1 million Africans were killed in Rwanda. Because it's the easiest appeal. You are this and I am that. We have a saying in the Middle East, I don't know if you know it, that we say, and this is for all the ones who are always in St. Finbar and Assumption Church, that the first racist was the devil. Because when God told him bow down to man, he says, why? I'm not bowing down to man. He is made of this, I'm made of that. So racism is really at the root of most evil. And it's writ large here in Trinidad and Tobago.
I sense. Go.
And they will keep appealing to that because that's all they have. And it's only when the so-called Indo-Trinbagonian, I have to say so-called, and the so-called Afro-Trinbagonian realize that we are Trinbagonians first and foremost, and that our heritage, where we come from, is only a reference. It's only a reference. Nice to meet my family in Zgata. they know that, okay, I'm a Nakhid and my great grandfather is doing it. But after that, I have to come back and help build this country. You have to do the same. Whether your name Alexander, Nahus, Lakis, Naja, you have to come back and build this country as a Trinbagonian.
I found out from my cousins abroad who found out with their own searches as to into our past and thing. Our name is not really Alexander. We are Jarouge. And we came to Trinidad via
Jarouge.
France. And yeah. So I mean, I just tell you.
Jarouge, yeah. As a matter of fact, Jarouge is a family from, in Lebanon, you know exactly where you come from by the name. Like when you hear Naja Hannibal Naja, who's a friend of mine, I know he comes from Kura, because a lot of Najas, that's where they come from. I know I can tell you where Lakis come from. Lakis origin from Baalbek. Something I will tell you, Rahal is not really Rahal. Rahal, originally his family name is Zaita from Baalbek. But I can tell you all this because I live in Lebanon for 22 to 24 years. And I know exactly where everybody comes from. And I know, so when they push in all this narrative that they get people to believe that they were the first to be here and they have a business here for 140 years and blah, 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 I know what's going on.
Mr. Nakhid, you make me smile for many reasons. I'll tell you why. To the people who listen to the things I talk, they always get so empowered when a kindred spirit enters into the conversation and starts to talk more of the same. Let us unite. Let us end the nonsense of racism. Let's understand where it started and move forward as one people under one flag. Bro, I don't need to ask another question, but I tell you this. You seem to have a strong heart for Trinidad and Tobago. Is that going to manifest itself in any way at any time soon in any kind of national service outside of the civic-minded stuff that you do naturally as a citizen, all of your charities, I know about that. But do you feel the stirring to get involved and solve the problem at the root?
Well, I think my life has led me to this point where, sometimes, coincidence or destiny or fate is something else. I came in to the Caribbean on an invitation by the Grenadian government, the Grenadian Football Federation. They asked me to be their global ambassador. And I said, you know what, I'm Grenada, I'll come down to Trinidad for a week to speak with some people what's going on. And then, of course, COVID-19, I was locked in and I was able to do some work on the ground in the communities that I grew up in. Lavantil, St. Joseph Hills, Mondo Hill, I grew up in those communities, kicking ball there. And I realized that, this is the time, because when that moment comes, when that opportunity comes and you have to give service, you cannot refuse it. If you do refuse it, I believe you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing the country a disservice. No matter what people say, he have a big mouth, he this, he that. Okay, what you doing? All you're doing is talking about my service, but you yourself, you're not doing anything. And I've grown accustomed. Thank God my football career prepared me for that. It prepared me for the people who can just talk, who not in the arena themselves, but love to talk and criticize. But when you put yourself in the arena, when you put yourself more or less at the mercy of ruthless people, merciless people, people who don't have the same love that you have for the country, but they could criticize from A to Z what you're doing, then for me that is water off a duck's back, Philip.
You have to develop toughness. I have a good friend, Richard Blaze. I don't know if you know him. You might know him. Everybody know Richard Blaze. Richard and I were talking about, sometimes Richard said, Philip, sometimes you come across hard. And I was telling him, I said, I was just channel surfing and I saw this comedian on Netflix and I was listening to him and he said, sometimes you find yourself in a field and because you're in it, it makes you tough and you don't even realize that you're getting tough because you take so much hits that you have no choice but to get tough. And then only when people point it out to you that you might be reacting a little tougher than you should, and you realize that you're just so accustomed to the hits, you know.
Well, I've followed some of your work, and people say, but say, you come across as abrasive. I'll even tell you, when I said to some people, I've been invited to come on your show, they were like, hey, David, what you doing? Don't go on, he's talk loud. And but thank God, I've always been one to look apart from the personality involved and listen to the message. Listen to the message. So my question to them was, is his message on point or not? No answer. Or the answer, yes, his message. Okay, then what I want, if he comes across in this way, because of his passion, because he wants to have a change, okay, then the people will decide if he's electable or not, if he's somebody they can go forward with or not. Not everybody can have the same direction.
Let me say something to you, right? Prior to forming the Progressive Empowerment Party, I was the most published writer in The Guardian and The Express and sometimes Newsday as somebody who didn't work in media at all. I used to get published twice, 3 times weekly. I wrote a blog, crossed 1 million words and 100 million views, and I mean, it was ridiculous numbers. Maxi Coffee, he was in the PNM when the UNC was in office, and Maxi had taken over the Mirror, and he called me and he asked me to write articles because he said, you seem to have a following, and come and write for us. And the moment we created a political party, all of the newspapers and all of the TV shows, I used to be on Hamer's show, on Fazil's show regular. I mean, they used to invite me on to talk on national issues. I wasn't in no political party. I wasn't. And at the moment we formed the Progressive Empowerment Party and started to challenge the actual problems that exist and the people responsible for those problems, I was met with an immediate blackout. I don't get no media, none at all. Felicia Holder, who's the chairman of this party, said once about 2 years ago, and it stuck with me. She said, if the Progressive Empowerment Party got just the media it was entitled to, there'd be nobody else in the other parties because of what we talk about. So I want to tell you this, right? I was sitting with a lawyer once and she said, people say that you come across abrasive. I said, how did you answer? She said, well, some of your videos, I couldn't help but agree. I said, you are not on my mailing list. You are not on my Facebook. You're nowhere on my social media track. How do you know what I say? And how do you know? She said, people send it to me. I said, okay, I want to show you something else. And I started to show her like the plain talk videos, and I showed her we do 3-minute videos and 5-minute videos. We do lots of videos that are very Mariano Brownish, Vasant Baratish, that kind of level, and speak to the level, parliamentary language and whatever. I said, do they forward these to you? She said no. 72 hours ago, I was outside the Prime Minister's office. And I did a video called Lies, Lies, and More Lies. It's crossed 500,000 views so far. It spawned a TikTok meme that's gone ridiculously viral, asking Terence DLC, where's the second wave supposed to come from? If we shut down the country for the past 2 months and the airports closed, where's it coming from? Because I'm asking that question. But I write releases and I write articles asking, where will this second wave come from? I explain the notion of the second wave that came because of in 1918 when World War I ended at the height of the Spanish flu. It was concentrated in the European theater, the Spanish flu. And when World War I ended and everybody went home, they took Spanish flu and exploded it worldwide as all these soldiers went into communities that did not have Spanish flu. And that's how you got 50 million deaths and the idea of a second wave. But there's no such thing to happen in Trinidad and Tobago because the reverse is true. Our airports are closed, our people have nowhere to go. And when I ask those things in releases and proper, rational, calm, I get a 5,000 views. If I go outside, just let me finish this. If I go outside the Prime Minister's office and ask him where it coming from, and I talk in Trini language with a certain amount of anger, viral. Everybody hears the message.
Well, I will tell you something that I will say something now that might be unpopular, but it's true. What the government has done well is manage their public relations about how they have covered this pandemic. That's what they have done well. Every day they have a press conference, plenty talk, plenty hollow talk. They have people in the media who not willing to ask them the hard questions, the pesky second question. There's always that pesky second question that a good journalist should always ask. But that is not coming because the population, the government has sense, is under a siege mentality. They're afraid, they were worried about their health to the extent that we became even a bit inhumane. They could say what they want, but that's how we became. Leave the 33 people in Barbados. Why? Why? Everybody bringing back their people, but leave them there. If it was my family, I want them to stay there. Ridiculousness. But what the government has done is manage it in the press conference. Well, plenty talk, but plenty vacuous talk. Nothing that makes. Look at the press conference today. Dr. Diyal Singh came and talked some stuff that I don't understand what the press conference was about. About when how many times I understand this, what we as the citizens of Trinidad have done quite well is do exactly what they asked us to do. Stay home, plenty social distancing, wear the mask. We've done that better than most countries. You're coming back today to tell us that is our individual responsibility. It means you have little or nothing to say. It means that you are playing Russian roulette with the lives of the citizens. You know to yourself that the government has not done enough testing. That is it. Say what you want. You have not done enough testing, so you're kind of hitting and hoping. You're hitting and hoping. You're saying, you know what?
Go, finish.
You're saying, you know what? We'll hedge our bets. We'll hedge our bets and hope that if we manage to lock this thing down enough, although it's not very clear how we have managed this success until now, because we had 50,000 people come in for Carnival, and maybe we miss a bullet, but maybe not. Maybe we miss a bullet. So they're trying to err on the side of caution by saying, you know what? Let's lock it down a little more, and let's ride this wave into the elections. Let's ride this wave into the elections.
But you see, I want to tell you this. And I can't tell you too much, but they paint themselves in a corner without thinking it through. Now, this fellow Diyal Singh, he is not a doctor. He is not a trained healthcare professional. He is a pharmaceutical sales rep. So when he puts out today, and I want you to see this, right? Because if Rowley could hold up his phone, I could hold up mine. This is from Terence Diyal Singh's page, right? And on it, the Honorable Terence Diyal Singh, Minister of Health. As Minister of Health, Terence Diyal Singh's main goal is to bring the three highs, being blood pressure, sugar, and cholesterol, to the three lows. And they would put that out in the public space, and nobody in the media would tell him, boss, low blood pressure and low sugar is a sickness too. So you're just moving from one end to the next, and obviously you don't know what you're talking about. Don't talk. What you were saying earlier, because we have a global pandemic, the media in countries acting locally, so you're not getting information shared. But countries that exist in hot sun have fared a lot better than countries that are temperate, because, and my brothers are epidemiologists, and as they go along, they learn that coronavirus that can last 3-4 days in an air-conditioned environment, in hot sun, don't last 2 minutes. It dries up and dies. And that is the meaning and the reason for our success in Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, we've had, and I forced Terence Diyal Singh to admit, of our 116 cases, 56 of them came off of a cruise, a PNM Senator cruise. 6 of the 8 deaths we have, 6 of the 8 came off that cruise. Trinidad is supposed to have a total coronavirus of 16 with 2 deaths, and that, all of that, no matter how they try to spin it, came from Carnival. They may play otherwise, and they're talking themselves in circles, because the same CMO that says It couldn't have come from Carnival because 4 weeks had passed before we get our first case. No problem. But 2 months have passed now, and a whole 4 weeks have passed since your last case. So where's coronavirus supposed to come from now? They're getting it, they're trying to have it both ways. And I'm saying to you that when I go outside the Prime Minister's house and say in very loud terms, you lie. You lie and you lie and you lie. Call me, but you lied. You lied. You took $934 million to give friends and financiers money, $400 million to Caribbean Airlines. For what? You sent $50 million to upgrade hotels in Tobago. For what? $100 million VAT refunds. How is that coronavirus expenses? You're just raiding the country now. All of these people, Stuart Young. If Keith Rowley does not fire Stuart Young, it will irreparably damage the PNM. And I don't know if Keith Rowley has the ability to see what's coming. His ministers have started to walk away. And people are starting to surmise that people are walking away from that government so that when the United States starts applying sanctions, their family don't get kicked out of America and their accounts don't get seized.
Philip, you're talking about people who know exactly what you're saying, but they do not care. And I don't understand why we keep expecting them to do better. You really think that Prime Minister Dr. Rowley doesn't know that Stuart Young is lying, but he's the architect of the lie. So he knows. And should he be the one to fire him? Of course he should be. It's what we would expect. But we now reached new lows. We've now reached new lows. Now, everybody, I think across the board, they've realized that the government has lied to us. So you'll have people trying to put a spin on it. Unfortunately, people who I respect, like Rafik Shah, and they will say, well, what if we sold oil to Venezuela? They are a neighbor, and we should be able to do that. Okay, I have no problem. Take a position and own it. Take a position, honest as a government, and say this is our position and own it. But don't come and lie to the public of Trinidad and Tobago, and then compound it with lies upon lies upon lies. I think it's an insult to our intelligence as a people. It's a disrespect to the country as a whole.
You're right. You're absolutely correct, David. You're hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
You're absolutely correct.
I think, but getting back to the issue of the COVID-19, we hope and we have to hope and be on the side of the government in that they handle this thing in the way that makes all of us safe and our lives better. But you alluded to the expenses. I had a look at that as well. I think it was more than what you said about the VAT refunds. I think it was closer to 200 million or something. Okay, VAT refunds, just my layman's economic experience is that, you have to give back VAT refunds. That means VAT would have come to you. That would have been revenue to the government. If you have to take that from a fund that should be for COVID-19, to alleviate the woes and the pressure of the people, the economic pressure of the people, why you have to take VAT refunds from that? Shouldn't you have had that in some kind of fund? Why you have to come now and take? Why you have to come and then tell the people, and then the media has not asked them why you have to do that? That means someone has looted the treasury, as far as that is concerned.
That's called accounting fraud. VAT refunds comes from the transaction of the government collecting VAT, and they need to deal with that at that level. They have no consolidated fund when you're dealing with funds for COVID-19. You give 12,000 people a grant. The country shut down 2 months now. You know how people making do? If it wasn't for the kindness of strangers who have been giving out hampers and helping people get by. Felicia Wola was telling a story about a man who, when they gave him the hamper, a big grown man, break down in tears because he said he feeding each other dumpling for the past 3 days to keep their belly from growling. How you could do a big man that, and then when people lose their mind in the country, you want to play and send your noisemakers to bad talk them. I see Trinidadians as we pull our poor people down and we treat our people with such scant courtesy. When you said just now, it resonated. What you said, if your position is to hell with America, Trinidad is going to help Venezuela, own that position. You're absolutely correct. Don't try and do it surreptitiously. Don't use subterfuge. Don't try and play a shell game and buy fuel from somebody and ship it to Aruba so it finds its way to Venezuela so you can be friends with Venezuela and America at the same time. That is just playing smart with stupidness and putting the country at risk.
I agree. And, you know, it's quite telling that we are a country that immediately would have rallied. Because Trinidadians, as you said, they're by nature very, very charitable. I mean, what has saved the country in this time is the charity of Trinbagonians. I mean, I've never seen so many drives and efforts to give hampers and to give food, and it's unbelievable. And this government, I mean, they have to thank their lucky stars that that's how we are as a people. You know, in the hard times, we've come together, and you know, I mean, we ourselves, we have given, I mean, close to 600, 700 families. You know, and if I don't want to highlight it because the only time that I let the media come was the first time, and the only reason was for the public to know that there is a need, there's an absolute need, and that highlights the shortcomings of the government. I mean, the people are doing what the government should have done. Okay, and that's the only reason I had the media come in the first day. But after that, we've gone several times. And we've seen last time, I will not hesitate to tell you, we had old people running down Mongdo Hill when they heard, because we started all the way up. I don't know if you're familiar with the area. We started all the way up in Spring Valley and then came down. Every day we went, we came down. So one time we reached almost half of the hill. And when the old people, I'm talking about young boys who say, well, let's let me get a hamper. No. All people we saw running down the hill to get a hamper.
David, when I saw, I mean,
go ahead.
In Chan Ishmael and me, we're not the best of friends. But when I saw the size of the outreach he was doing and that he was mobilizing the community to feed people, and I watched the crowds that police had to come and deal with, I said, this country, this is a mess. When I saw Living Waters, the first day had grannies and mothers line up around the savannah from 11 o'clock the night before, hoping to get a hamper. I'm wondering, these people, our parliament cost us $100 million a month. You trying to tell me these people, $100 million a year, you trying to tell me these people couldn't cut their salary in half and donate it in hampers? Massey was giving you a hamper for $125. There are other groceries that was giving other hampers. You could have taken that money and buy hampers and just make sure people get fed. Instead, these people have been stunting and posing and parading and carrying on like if they're really responsible for something positive in this country when they are the author of all the suffering taking place.
Well, they are the author. And when you see a situation like COVID-19, and just to give you an example, that imagine we have people in such dire need, and you have statements from perhaps the biggest disappointment I've ever seen in political office, which is Clarence Rambarat. I mean, this was a guy that I admired. I will not faint to tell you, I admired how he used to write before he assumed political office. I don't know if you ever saw some of his articles. He inspired me to write. He
Clarence and
inspired
I
me to write. And
we and I worked together with a hamper drive, ironically, for the poor before he came into government. He and I used to talk regularly for years. While he was a lecturer, he was a lawyer and a columnist for the Express. Yes, he had spot on writing. But we used to talk about a lot of things to do with if you ever got into office, what would happen and what should be done and stuff. And as you say, he is the greatest disappointment.
for me, with hands down, greatest disappointment I've seen. I mean, that you could watch people in a line at Living Water and say, well, they are not Trinbagonians. So what? So what? They are in our country. You know what I mean? You could talk about there are no hungry people in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, come on. And this is my appeal to the electorate. It's in your hands. It's in your hands. You've seen the lies. Nobody could come and tell you. I mean, Chinbagonians are smart people. It's just they do not want to see. They do not want to free themselves from the shackles, the mental shackles that they have put themselves under. Either PNM, why? Because them is the other side, or them is the other side, because them is Indian, or them is African, or them craziness. While these people who you see who parading, I would have to say almost in blackface. They might look black, but they're certainly not representing black people in Trinidad and Tobago. They're certainly not, because who I see when I go up the hill, when I go in Bangladesh, in St. Joseph, when I go there, it's certainly black and Indian people who are under the gun. So the people who are supposed to be representing them, not representing them, because if that was the case, they wouldn't, under the eyes of the Trinbagonians, run to give a security contract for Sabga Abood. When people don't have food on the table, they run, and only when we kick up a fuss, they stop the contract, and then the guy has the audacity, Rowley, to come and call us racist. And we take that. We will take that. And not realize that our actions subsequently is what is going to doom us. Repeated failure, repeated failure. And I said it in 2005. It's untenable for us as a country to have such a small community of people, and it has nothing to do whether it is Syrian, Lebanese, Malaysian, Filipino. I couldn't give a rat's ass. It has to do with this small community controlling too many facets at the manufacturing level, production level, import level, all levels of society, whereby at any point in time we can be stranglehold. We can, they can suffocate us, and it's the duty of the government to protect us from that, not facilitate it. They have not protected us from it. That
But
they can
I
allow.
want to jump, if you would let me jump in here, right? The issue is not for the government to stunt and call people racist and talk about opportunity or who working hard. I keep telling Trinbagonians the issue is credit. The lifeblood of business is credit. What allows you to open business after business and run your business and keep your business above water until it finds profit is credit. Amazon is the biggest business in the world. Jeff Bezos is on his way to becoming the world's first trillionaire. And Amazon lost money for the first 15 years every single year. Every year. And there had to be people with Jeff Bezos who were betting with Jeff Bezos to give him credit to carry Amazon, because Jeff Bezos started off like you and me and had with a computer on his dining room table created Amazon.com. And for a business to become the biggest business in the world, but you have to have credit. When I look at businesses in this country, Trinidad and Tobago, some business grow at a phenomenal rate. Other businesses are stunted. And it had nothing to do with who brighter than who and who working harder than who. Everybody bright. Everybody reading the same books, getting the same quote of the day. Everybody working hard. But some people, the first call in the morning is the bank. The first call in the morning is the bank to say, you're late with your payment and we're cutting your overdraft. And that check that you wrote yesterday to your supplier, sorry, but you're beyond your overdraft. I had to bounce that. And then all of a sudden, the walls come tumbling down. They have some people who have been able to open 5, 10, 15, 20 restaurants. All of them 20 restaurants fail. Break them down, build new one, try new thing. And I just ask, how is it that some people have such an access to credit and some people just can't find it? The added insult to injury in this country, when the banks stopped paying interest on deposit funds. When the banks stopped, because the way banks work is, I take your money and I give you 3% interest. I lend your money to Charlie and I charge Charlie 16% of it. I keep 13% to operate, 10% went to the operating cost of the bank, 3% is my profit, you get your interest. When the bank stopped having to pay you interest on your money in the bank, they no longer had the cost of doing business to cover by putting credit into the economy. Worse, they've been allowed to create fees that picked up. Remember I told you earlier, 10% goes to the cost of banking? Well, they've been able to create rapacious fees. Just now, banks will have cover charges because it's $15 and $20 on every transaction, regardless of the size of the transaction. And people not realizing that banking in Trinidad and Tobago has removed credit from the economy and dried up the source of funds that people would have been using to develop business. And this is why I say, and I just want to say this to you, this is why I say a progressive empowerment party government will do two things. We will regulate the financial sector in the country. Banks will have to pay interest, and banks will have to pay interest on deposit funds, and banks will have to get permission to charge fees. The second thing we're going to do is open the economy to competition. We want 20 more banks to come in here and eat from the $5–10 billion profit that banks make a year in Trinidad and Tobago on fees. Competition allows, competition forces people to give you better service for less money. And we need that so that the average person, because it is not about a handout, but it has to be about a hand up. There has to be some way some people are accessing finance that they could run business after business after business. One man boasted that he opened 126 stores in 10 years. And I'm the only ass that asked, you open a store a month for 10 years? Where you get that money from?
And that's my point. I said to you before that it was up to the government, if the government was doing its job, to protect us, to protect people like that, the small businessman, who normally, sorry to say, tends to be the black or Indian Trinbagonian. I don't know why that is. The problem is, as you said, and this is what I wanted to tell you, where is the regulation to make sure that the banks comply or at least give something back to the economy or to these people that want to have access to credit? But it's not there. So the government is not. What are you going to do, Philip? What are you going to do when the government facilitates just a certain section of the community, of the national community?
See, David, if you focus on that, they will make that the conversation. And I have to be careful. It's like tap dancing on a razor's edge. As much as I would like to talk about all the wrongs that's happening on that side of the equation, I want to talk about this side. This is a country that has budgeted and spent $1 trillion in 58 years. I went up to Hilton Hotel to look out onto the vista of Trinidad and Tobago, Port of Spain, and I can't find $1,000 billion. Where did that money go? We didn't create no businesses. We didn't create no new ventures. We created retail millionaires and billionaires. We've used...
Well, you went up on the wrong Hilton. You went up on the wrong Hilton, Philip. You should have gone to the Hilton in Canada or go up to the Hilton in Miami, and you'll see some of where that money went. I've had sons of ministers tell me who I went to school with, that their children, don't have to work anymore and that he could be a professional student. And I'm not shy. I will call their name because the truth is defense. And I know all of them. Yes, I know. I will not. I will not.
No,
I
no,
know.
no. Just
I know you don't have your court closed.
no, it's not that, brothers. I have too much court closed. They're suing me for anything now. I am the only person who talking. I have had 5 Syrian people sue me, you know, Syrian businesses. And it is ridiculous. It is just to shut me up. Because all I'm doing is asking simple questions of certain things. But all of them have the same 2 lawyers. And because one, anyway, we will deal with that at another time. But the truth that faces Trinidad and Tobago is this. It is not about who is getting an advantage. It is how they're getting that advantage. And that is the issue. Because the advantage that some enjoy at the expense of others is facilitated by government. Government has the responsibility to see after the well-being of all its citizens. But the condition of
Exactly.
Morfa, Beetham, Lavantil, and Silots, East Port of Spain, Patna, River State, Covey, and Rich Plain, Abipujad, Big Yard, Cocorit, Belmont, Gonzales, those places do not scream a government that cares. This is not a poor country. Trinidad and Tobago was the 3rd wealthiest nation in the Western Hemisphere. America, Canada, Trinidad. We were wealthier per capita than Venezuela, Brazil, Panama, Jamaica, Guyana. You name any country you could think of. Argentina, Chile, Nicaragua, anybody. We were richer than everybody. Where's the money? Singapore, who did not have our kind of money, half the size of Trinidad and Tobago, got independence at the same time as us. They now have the most competitive economy in the planet. They have 5 times the population. They have 5 million people. We have 1.4 million people. Our GDP is 22 billion US dollars a year. Theirs is 322 billion US dollars a year. They don't have petroleum, they don't have oil, they don't have gas. What they had was leadership. Look at Dubai. I'm telling you about places that you've been. Look at Qatar, look at Norway. Norway's Heritage Fund has some statistics that
Ridiculous.
are
Ridiculous. Yeah, I
shocking.
know.
No, shocking.
Yeah.
Norway's Heritage Fund owns 1.4% of all business in the world. Norway's Heritage Fund. The people of Norway make $1 billion US dollars a year interest on their Heritage Fund. Come on. It is a
Yeah, but
complete
you
lack of.
asking what you asking there, Philip, is for our colleagues in the national community to accept their national responsibility, look past tribe, look past party affiliation, and look to where we can go forward as a national community, as a country. Now, that has to come with education. I mean, you have to keep, in your own way, preaching that message over and over and over. And all the people with like-mindedness, we have to keep doing the same thing. Because in the end of the day, we can't force somebody who knows what is going on, who can see what is going on, who can feel what is going on. And when you ask him, who are you going to vote for? He say, I'm going to vote for the same people that have me in this condition. What you can do about that? You can't do nothing. You can't do anything. Neither can I. So all we have to do is keep preaching the message, hoping that at some point in time, if not that person who we can't get through to, maybe his son. But at the same time, we have to do what we can to protect our people. I can't sit by and watch the East-West corridor, how it is, and just hope that some benevolent government will come in and help the East-West corridor. I'm seeing the East-West corridor every day. I was in Lavantil Hill yesterday. I was in Mongo before, Bangladesh before that, up St. Josephville, Maracas before that. I'm seeing these people in dire needs. I can't hope and say, well, you know what? These people all of a sudden will have a change of heart and stop their rapaciousness and stop their pillaging. No. I have to get these people active. And I have to tell them, you know what? You have to initiate the change. Only you. And even if I have to go down in the community and get dirty with them and get nasty with them and give them what I need to give them, and give them some of my experience and have people already waiting. Well, Nakhid have an agenda. Yes, I have an agenda. And you should too. Don't wait for me to do something and talk about I have an agenda or Philip Alexander have an agenda. Yes, we have an agenda because we care. What are you doing to change the narrative and put Trinidad and Tobago on the front foot? We're on the back foot. We on the back foot. Manifestly so. But then again, I knew it would be an uphill task. I knew what I was facing, and I'm prepared to go forward, and I'm prepared to be that vehicle for change, especially for the East-West corridor and for the entire national community. I have no problem at all.
My brother, I said at the start of the interview, because the hour has flown, and I said at the start of the interview, it was an honor and a privilege to talk to you, and you lived up to that 100,000 times beyond it. I mean, every time somebody like you comes on Plain Talk and I go and I just scroll the message responses on the thread and I'm seeing all the new fans that you're getting and all the people who say that's exactly what is supposed to be said. Bro, you're touching on all the right points, you're saying all the right things, you're making all the right notes, and at the end of the day, I agree with you that we who can have a responsibility to try. And I also believe that the past doesn't equal the future. Trinidad has made some stupid decisions in the past 58 years, but that doesn't mean that they're going to continue to make stupid decisions. We have to press on in hope and faith that better will come out of all the fruits that all the seeds that we planted will bear good fruits. I want to tell you on behalf of everybody who enjoyed listening to you tonight, who's going to watch the rerun and say, wow, that man is brilliant, we want to hear more from him. I want to tell you, Satish is going to be trying very hard. I know your schedule busy, but we're going to be trying very hard to get you back on, to talk some more, because you have a lot of ideas to share and a lot of guidance to give, and people need to hear it. I want to tell you thanks a lot for coming. And like we tell all our guests, for your closing comments, take as much time as you need.
First of all, I really want to express my admiration. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people who warned me, but thank God I've always been independent-minded. Keep doing what you do. No one said that we had to be successful. No one guaranteed us success in this life. Don't think that you will be successful or I. We might never be able to reach our people like we want. We might never be able to. That's not the point. The point is we have to keep trying. We have to keep every day out there, because if we are committed to it, we have to at least give them the hope that there could be a vehicle, a medium for change. And this is what I intend to do. I applaud what you do. I applaud your message on point, your fearlessness. I hope that our people wake up, Philip. I hope our people wake up and realize that. And I hate to sound like this cliche, but I hope they realize that we're really in it as a national community. All of us, the Syrian Lebanese, the French Creole, the African, everyone want to be Trinbagonians, because that's what we are. We can truly be an example as a global people, because we are the first global people. Trinbagonians are the first. We have a mix that is unparalleled. But we have to realize that, we have to embrace it, and we have to stop this crap. I am from this community, and something just to try and set me apart. Where are you from? Where are you from? You don't know a damn thing about Lebanon or Syria or India or Africa. You don't know. You don't know a damn thing. You know Trinbago. You know, just like me. And we have to embrace that and move forward. And I really hope that's what we do. I really hope, and I am prepared to give my life for it.
Mr. David Nakhid, again, I know you spent a life of national service so far. I look forward to what you're going to do, and I look forward to further conversations. Thanks a lot for joining us, my brother.
Take care, brother. Take care.
And that, Trinidad and Tobago, is again another example of a shining son of the soil stopping to tell you he is not just trying to feather his own nest. He is an internationally renowned footballer. He's represented this country at the highest level. He's played with some of the biggest stars in the world, and he's not outside there trying to get his next Ferrari. He is here trying to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place. And he's saying to you, like I'm saying to you, let's put all of the dividers aside and come together as one people under one flag. Red, white, black, green, and every shade in between. If we stand up as one people under one flag, we could make Trinidad and Tobago not just the third wealthiest nation in the Western Hemisphere. We can become one of the wealthiest nations in the world. Our people, he calls us world people. I love that. We go forward as world people. We make Trinidad an example to every people on the planet. And who not from here, lie and say they're Trinbagonian. We could make that a reality. This is paradise on earth convincingly, to quote David Rudder. Let's make it so. We have brilliant guests lined up for tomorrow. Sati Shamsaran is putting together a panel, or I think a half and half. We have Nazma Muller, Joel D'Souza, and a couple other activists coming tomorrow to talk to us on Plain Talk about what they're doing and bringing their side of the story. And I want to tell you this, I want to tell you this plain as a day. When you see that there are different times in life when it doesn't care what race you are, you know. See, when you're born and when you die, doesn't matter. During your life, if ever you reach in an emergency and you need help, you don't care the race or the differential of the person coming through the door or coming to your crashed vehicle or coming to give blood to you while you waiting in a hospital hoping and praying that somebody helps you. You don't care the race or the gender or the height of the person or the weight of the person holding those two paddles that are going to resuscitate you and bring you back to life. Stop the divisive nonsense. Stop it. You could be black like the ace of spades. You could be the most Madras Indian. You could be the most camel riding Syrian. You could be straight off the boat from the Yangtze and it doesn't matter where you come from. David just said it. It's a frame of reference. It have nothing to do with who we are, who we supposed to be. Trinbagonians. If we come together as one people under one flag, imagine what we could really do with that power. Anyway, thanks a lot for this. Really big thanks to David for coming tonight and speaking to you again, bringing that message of power and unity. Until tomorrow, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.